So when I was trying to, like, when I was brainstorming, really? You right off the bat, you gonna start with that? Yeah? Is that how we're going? So, I was kind of like, when I was brainstorming, I was kind of trying to come up with, obviously, videos to do and that kind of thing, and I have a bunch of topics written down and everything like that, but I like to, really, like, try and make it somewhat relevant a little bit, at least to the times, and if I don't have any ideas, that's when you'll see something that's completely off the wall and random. And I was actually really surprised that I hadn't written down, nor had I not recorded yet, a video on physical versus digital media. This is particularly game-related, obviously. I was kind of surprised that I hadn't done that before, because I was like, oh no, I've already done that video, I'm sure. Yes, at this point, it's been 2 years, almost 3, and I forget what videos I've done in the past, okay? So, cut me a little slack. I've done a bunch. Haven't missed a single week, so it's been a lot. Anyway, I was, especially with the new consoles coming out, and they have the digital-only versions, or the physical and digital, obviously, versions that are a little bit more expensive. I've had the debate, the conversation, whatever, with my friends several times over what's better. And while I don't really think there is one that's necessarily better, I think it would be kind of asinine to say that that's not the way we're headed as far as an all-digital platform eventually. I think that's what we're going to see in the future at some point. Obviously, being a collector, I like digital media. As a collector, I like physical media, but I there's no escaping the future and what's to come. So, as much as it's sad to see happen, I get it, I respect it, and, it is what it is. That being said, also, I honestly, I'm kind of relieved in a way, because as much as I love physical media, new console comes out and they say, hey, we're going to have a whole lineup of new games coming out for it. It's just like, oh my god, there's so many more to collect now, and that's just going to be adding to the pile. Whereas you look at older systems like Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, NES, that kind of thing, PlayStation, whatever. You have a finite amount that, and I'm not saying I'm going to go for every single game on every console, that's insane. But at least it just, as far as your mindset, at least for me, it feels a little less daunting, because I know they're, if I want to look for another RPG on a console, I know that if I've already looked through the entire list, chances are I really haven't missed any. Don't get me wrong, that does happen quite a bit, where I have missed a few, and it's like somebody points one out to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, never even heard of that one. Like, heck yeah, absolutely. I'll pick it up, but there's a lot of on the older consoles, of games that I don't know about, at all, that are in my wheelhouse, like JRPGs, that kind of thing. So my collection is kind of gone towards things that I think look neat, regardless of what kind of genre they are, and that kind of thing. So it's, that's another video entirely, because I could totally go into is it worth collecting games that you don't want, which, but anyways, I'm I don't know, I think there's pluses and minuses to, if you ever listen to the Frozen North podcast, we came up with a term that was for something that has both good and bad qualities. Not a pro, not a con, it's a procon. A procon is what we called it, a procon. But we that's kind of how I look at digital versus physical. Both of them are procons, to be honest. Physical. I love that you can have the game in your hand. There's nothing better than cracking it open, and especially with older games, man, getting that manual on the inside and just being able to crack it open, look at it, read character bios, look at what kind of world you're going to be diving into, gameplay mechanics, all that stuff right there in the palm of your hands, and you're just flipping through these pages before you actually get into the meat of the game, before you even turn the game on. And that was always one of my favorite parts about getting new games as a kid. Now, and that's a big sign that we're going to all digital eventually, they don't even, games don't even really come with instruction manuals anymore. It's all just, they're like, we're gonna put like in-game tutorials, or we'll have just like a screen when you load it up saying like controls and look at it there, which is fine. Totally get it. Totally cool. It's fine. It makes it a lot easier. But I still miss that introduction, that first phase of getting a new game, of being able to crack open that manual, and it's unfortunate. That being said, I also think there's something to be said about digital media. I think it's obviously handy. I was kind of like, before I trailed off earlier, I was leading towards what I was going to say is, surprisingly, I would love to just have an all-digital console and leave it at that. The problem that we have right now is space. Having to delete games, because hard drive space is so limited, is rough. It's really, really tough. Granted, my PS4, as soon as I upgraded my internal hard drive from started out as like a 500 or something like that, I upgraded it to a 2 terabyte, which has worked wonders, and I haven't had to uninstall anything since. So it's great in that regard. We just need more space for it. So I think when we can finally get past those limitations, whether it's just bigger hard drive space, or whether it's like something like Stadia, not Stadia itself, but something like Stadia where it's an all, you're streaming stuff online and actually using their servers to play these games, and just connecting to them, which I think that's probably the future. I think that's where we are going to be headed, and I think it'll be that way for everything at some point. I don't know that I would love to tell you there's always going to be a market for limited run games and that kind of thing, and there's going to be some company that likes to release physical stuff. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think it's neat. I think it's cool. I think it's a really, really great idea that they're doing it right now, because excuse me, because we're kind of in that transition phase of moving from one to the other. And so to have a few of these games where people are like, oh man, I wish I had a physical copy of that, you can get that. But if you've got where the entire industry is moving towards all digital, there's going to be less of a place. I think the younger gamers that we have, they're not going to care as much. They don't have that connection to, like I said, opening up a game and looking at all the stuff on the inside. Right now, you open up a game, it's a little tiny cart or a CD, and that's it. You're done. It's a big difference, and it's sad in some ways, but I get it. I totally get it. I would love to, frankly, with newer games, I'd love to go with an all digital console. Like I said, the space is the only thing that's the issue for me. I would like it to have some sort of backwards compatibility as well. I was heartbroken when I found out the PS5 was only going to be compatible with PS4 games, and now I'm finding out not even all PS4 games. So it's a little frustrating on that front. But as far as it's just, that's where we're headed. That's where it's going to go. I love my physical media. I absolutely do. I think it's great. I love the way they look on the shelves. But I am under no delusion that this is how it's going to be forever. I don't think there will always be physical media coming out. I think we need to also come up with ways to play these older games, because you're talking about bit rot and just games that disappear through, whether they get destroyed accidentally or, become unfixable, that kind of thing. Stuff gets lost. You're going to see less and less stuff that was old that you can play anymore. So a lot of these games that haven't been converted to, most games have been put online in some form, in the form of ROMs, that kind of thing. But I mean, unless you have some people officially supporting that, some of the bigger companies who hold licenses and stuff, you're always going to see a fight on that front too. I don't understand the concept of ignoring all these extra titles that are older. I feel like that's just a gold mine waiting to happen, because literally all these companies have to do is just say, we've got our whole library from this older console, boom, on our new one that you can play digitally. People who want to play those games are going to get to play them. People who have those games, like the collectors and stuff, already have them, so it's not a big deal. But again, like I said, those games are going to be, throughout time, become less and less able to be played. So I think it's important to preserve that kind of stuff too. And again, totally another video, absolutely. But I think there is something to be said for pushing the digital platform as well. So yeah, I'm curious. What do you guys think about digital versus physical? Because I you know, like I said, I'm a collector, so I love my physical copies. But for newer stuff, it's just more and more daunting, knowing that you're going to be looking to collect a lot more and stuff. And quite frankly, like the PS4 games that I'm going to be doing a collection video soon. Collection of collection videos. But I have so many PS4 games, and I don't know that, like, I think if I had the option on a good chunk of those, I would have just gotten them digitally. Like, I don't really care as much about the physical stuff because there's just nothing else in there. Like I said, my favorite part is cracking open that box, looking at that manual. You know, obviously my favorite part's the game, but before I get to that, I love, it was just all part of the ritual. So I miss that. So yeah, tell me what you guys think. I'm curious. I'd love to hear what you think, and whether you prefer physical versus digital, you just don't care. You know, let me know. Comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Appreciate you watching, and as always, keep on gaming.